Hi, this is Joy with Creative with Joy, and this is my son Johnny.
Hi.
Johnny always helps me with cards. I can always bounce ideas off of him, and so there was the cutest video hop ever has been going on, and it actually inspired me to want to put Johnny on a video with me that actually have him be part of the card making process. Like I said, I can always come to him and ask him what he thinks, where placement goes, and he has a good eye for it, partly because he makes movies himself. And so I will have a link down below to his YouTube channel. So he's going to explain a little bit what he did. We made this really cute card using some Simon Hurley products, along with
Chibi Lights.
So we made a light up card. Johnny mapped out the whole process, which was really awesome because his brain is quite mechanical and he can do building things and definitely could be an engineer. So the way that this card works is as you slide it across, this lights up 3 times and then the moon lights up. Rather than just pushing a light, you would slide across. So we hope that you enjoy this card and enjoy the process that we got to work together, and I'm so glad I did because it was really a lot of fun. Did you have a good time?
Yeah, it was fun. I liked it.
Okay, good. Thanks, guys, and let's get going on this card. Okay, so now we're going to ink up the background, which is going to be the front panel of the card. And so I am using Distress Oxide inks, Blueprint Sketch, Wilted Violet, Black Soot, and Salty Ocean. And I am just making little splotches all over the front of this card, so that way eventually it will turn out to look like space. And I know it looks kind of funny right now, but it really does come together. So just putting down some color, then I will get into kind of blending it together. Then we will put black soot on top of it. So again, I've got something to keep my fingers out of my ink so I don't have fingerprints everywhere, so a scratch piece of paper. And you can adjust the color if you wanted more purple or more blue, or even if you put in some greens or oranges, that would be fun too, which I think I might have to try sometime. But just kind of get all of these colors blended together. And I am using Nina Classic Crest Solar White cardstock in 110 pound weight for this piece of paper. So going back and forth with all the colors, and you can see now it's coming together and getting a nice smooth blend. It's not such stark separate pieces. And I felt like I did need a little bit more of this Wilted Violet. And just keep blending and blending until you get it exactly how you like it. And if you take too much of one color out, it's not hard to add that back in. So here is some of that Blueprint Sketch, adding a little bit more of that. Now we are going to do the black soot, and basically it's probably going to give you a little bit of a hard tack, but you're going to go over your whole card with it. The edges you can make darker for sure, but you're going to go over the whole top of your card with this, which really kind of softens everything, and then you've got that black dark look, which gives you space. Now I'm going to take my Distress Sprayer from Tim Holtz, spray that on there, let that sit for a second, and it's going to kind of wick away at that water, and you're going to pat that dry with a paper towel. Now I took some black and white acrylic paint that you can get at your craft store. I wet it down, and now I'm using my cheap old little paintbrush, dipping it in and flicking it all over the background of my card. So now you've got these white and black stars everywhere, which really, between that and the water droplets, finish it off. And all of a sudden you have got this sky that is space, and you're blown away by it. Okay, so now I'm putting this in my box, and I have got Imagine Sheer Shimmer Craft Spray, and it is super sparkly, and I sprayed the heck out of this paper because I wanted my space to be really, really kind of a glittery, sparkly background. And I'm going to dry that with my heat tool, but you could also just put it aside to dry. Either way, it doesn't really matter. I just was feeling a little like I didn't want to wait for this card, but look how sparkly that is. I'm not sure if you guys can get that effect on the camera, but it really is sparkly. Now I'm prepping the background because it is dry with my anti-static powder tool, and I am going to be using my clear ink, and from the stamp set Lawn Fawn's Upon a Star, I am stamping constellations all over this background because we're going to be using the Lawn Fawn Glow in the Dark embossing powder so that this card not only lights up, but it glows in the dark. So you don't, I mean, you see the back, you see the stars a little bit on the back of this card, but once you take it into a dark room, it's really going to light up. So super, super fun card. So just putting them everywhere. It didn't even matter if they overlapped. I took a little star, kind of put some of those everywhere, and then we will cover this background in glow in the dark embossing powder. So a few more stars here and there. Heat up your heat tool so it does not warp your background. And then here is that glow in the dark embossing powder. Once you put it on, then you can kind of see where the stars are at, but super cute, fills up that sky wonderful. Now I'm going to heat that up, and this glow in the dark embossing powder heats up really quick. So don't overdo. I don't know if it would do any damage, but as soon as you see it change, move on to the next part. Okay, so now I'm going to take my images, and these are from Simon Hurley's Space Training stamp set, and I'm going to stamp them out, and I am going to be using, I think the black ink that I used was the Ranger's Archival ink in Jet Black. I'm pretty sure that's the ink that I used for this. No, I did not. I'm so sorry. I used Simon Says Stamp Intense Black Ink because I'm going to be doing some Copic coloring. But stamp it down really good, especially for the solid letters. You want a really good stamped impression. So there were just a couple little spots that needed to be covered, so I just kept stamping till it was good. So I stamped the moon and the rocket ship. We're going to get that colored. And so I'm going to turn on some music for you, and I will be back. Okay, now that that is done being colored, I'm just kind of lining it up to a piece of paper that I had stamped how I wanted the layout done, and that was for Johnny so he could kind of draw out where we're going to be putting all of the inner workings to make this card light up. So I'm going to glue down all my letters, and I'm using the moon as the O. So I'm going to finish lining up all of these letters on here. I'm using the moon for an O. And I am using a tape runner. You can use liquid glue behind these. That works just fine. Now these letters don't have a die cut, so I did cut them out by hand, which really was not a big deal because they're very square, if that makes sense. Super easy to cut out. The problem for me is lining everything up. So if you have that same problem, you could use a ruler to line up, like put it at the bottom of these letters and line everything up. But I really wasn't worried about it. I'm kind of an eyeball girl, and so that's what I was doing. So finish getting these letters down. Then I'm going to line up my other part of my sentiment, which says to the moon and back, and the spaceship, to kind of see where I need to make holes for the spaceship. Now the spaceship, I cut out 4 more pieces of the fire trail. I just stamped to the end of those and cut those out. Something I would do later is use vellum instead, because you'd really be able to see the lights through that. This was just white cardstock that I had used. So I'm just going to line these up behind there and punch little holes so we have a guideline of where to put the stamps. Now Johnny's going to be explaining how he put the background piece together with all the copper tape. So here he goes.
So now we're laying the bottom of this card with a double layer of foam tape to move the button up just a bit taller so that there's not a lot of pressure on the card, so it's equal with the face of it. And then we put the button on top and cutting off the overlap, lining it up. And now this is the foam tape. Nope, this is the copper tape. And then we're lining it, I think, well, if I can get it off the piece of paper first. It took a long time. Yeah, Mommy had to help. So then we're lining it from the battery flap there. That'll make more sense in a little bit. So then we're folding it in half.
You're gonna fold it back away from the turn and then fold it towards your turn. So when you make a turn, that's how you do the copper tape.
Yeah. And then my head's in the way. So then we're laying it across the top. That's the positive side. We're laying it, then we're flattening it down. We're using the bone folder and laying that down.
You use the bone folder to push it down and make it nice and smooth.
And now I cut a piece of the copper tape in half. The book actually recommends it. It works just the same. So we're laying it here as the still positive side up to the positive side of the lights. And I'm in the way again. We're doing this 4 times, and I cut the copper tape thinner because it's kind of tightly knit, all the many different lights. So I cut them thin. There's 4 of them. So that's the first light connection. Is the second one. If I can.
We're putting it up to the spots where each light is going to be. So from the switch where you're going to be sliding your finger across, he is laying a piece of copper tape. Now he's making a bridge.
Yeah, I'm doing this so that the next copper tape doesn't touch, because it's very tight, very close together. So that's covering so the copper tape does not connect.
So that piece of copper tape will go over the bridge because it is such a small fit. And now he is lining it up to the next light.
And then now I was pointing to something. So this is the light. I made this, I didn't have to cut in half because it wasn't super close together. So this goes to the moon. This is the positive side of the moon. And then with the bone folder, I'm flattening it down again. All of it down. And keep flattening it down. And then I don't know what I'm doing now. Oh, okay. Then I'm going to the negative side of the moon. So that's going to just go straight to it.
So from where the battery is going to be, there's a positive and a negative side. So each light has a positive and a negative side. So you have to have 2 pieces of copper tape to each light coming from the battery. That is a positive and negative.
And now there's another bridge. So that's from the battery, that's the negative going down to the tiny lights down at the bottom.
So the first thing he did was all the positives. Now he's doing all the negatives. And you can put adhesive over copper tape. It does not interfere with the lights.
And make another bridge for something. Yeah, for the negative ones, because it is very small and put together very tightly.
On the little Chibi Lights, there is the positive and the negative. I think the positive's at the bottom and the negative's at the top. So you've got this small little area to bring each piece of copper tape to. But we did make it work. This looks complicated, you guys, but actually it really is not. So Johnny's lining up the light there to make sure that everything fits, that there's enough space between each light, and the copper tape to each light is not touching another light, if that makes sense.
And now I'm connecting up the little tiny lights and then putting copper tape above it, but that kind of... Wait, is that what I'm doing? I don't even know anymore.
You're doing each light.
Yeah, okay, I'm putting the lights on. Yeah. So they're kind of small, if you can see. So that's why the copper tape has to be connected very, very tightly together. Then there's the battery, positive to negative. They have little markings to indicate which one's which. Then I fold over the flap, and then the lights are on. Wow, that last one is.
You haven't put all the lights on yet.
That explains it. Now I'm putting down the first light of the flame, which is the first connection down there. And then there's the second one. And then there's the third. So then I press on the battery, and then I'm sliding along, and it works. So you can put these lights into any pattern you want. It's just the first copper tape that you touch is the order that's going to go in. And then now I'm putting double layer foam tape around the battery to keep it from touching all the different copper things, because then that won't make it work.
And it helps it hold it in place so it doesn't slide around out of this little pocket.
Yeah. And then I'm adding a little step up to it, because we found out that it wasn't super sensitive.
You have to put a piece of foam tape on the top flap and then add some more copper tape to that, to the original piece of copper tape that we laid down on the top part of that flap, which is the positive side, because you need to have a lot of pressure, because you're not going to be pushing the battery down like on some light up cards.
Yeah, so
see how that was held down? We used score tape to also hold that down on the top with lots of pressure, so when you slide your finger across, then the connection starts.
Mm-hmm. So it's kind of funky looking on the inside of the card, but good thing you don't see that.
That's for sure. Okay, so now I've got this die cut, and I'm going to cut out the O, well, the moon. So the light that Johnny put in the background piece is behind that. And now we're gonna glue the spaceship together, all the little flame pieces. Like I said before, if I was to do this again, I would definitely use vellum for the back parts of the flame, because you would see the lights even better when it, if you were in a bright room, you would still see the lights. But I still love how this turned out. I think the stamp set is fantastic for this card. Super cute how this came together. So I'm using my tweezers, letting those stick together, adding a little thin edge of glue, because this moon is slightly bigger than that circle die cut. Make sure that's lined up in the center, and we're going to let that dry. So adding a little bit of foam behind the bottom piece of the flame and behind the rocket ship, because I did want this to have some dimension. Everything else is flat, but I did want the moon and the sentiment strip to have some dimension. And I'm going to lay that over where I made the holes for the other lights to go through. And then now here's the sentiment strip that says "To the Moon and Back." Make sure that is nice and straight and press that down. Now that other back piece, oh, I'm not there yet, sorry. Okay, so I did need to stamp, and this is from Lights Out, from Lawn Fawn, the little Lights Out stamp set. It says "I glow in the dark," and so I did stamp that in black ink. And from Lawn Fawn's Push here, there is some arrows, and then I stamped the sentiment slide on the inside. So I stamped 3 of those, and I did originally stamp it in black, and I did not like how dark it was. So I ended up taking, I'll have to see what color that was. It was either Blueprint Sketch or Salty Ocean. And then I stamped back over the arrows to soften it up a little bit, which I ended up really liking. This looks like Salty Ocean to me. So I ended up stamping again back over the arrows. I left the slide still in black, but as you can see how that softens that up, because it stood out a little too much for me. Okay, so now here's the background. You have to do 3 layers of foam tape around everywhere, otherwise you don't have enough room. The only place that has 2 layers of foam tape is that bottom flap that you're going to slide your finger across, because if it had 3 layers, it would constantly push down and your battery would run out. So there is a little dip so you can slide your finger across. So here we go. So you're going to slide, you can see it lights up red, red, white, and then the moon lights up. Isn't that so much fun, you guys? Oh my gosh, look at it again. Red, red, white, maybe, and the moon. There we go. Just have to have enough pressure. And remember, this glows in the dark, which I just couldn't get an image of that. Sorry, guys. My one bathroom's the only place it's dark enough to really get a great image. Thank you guys so much for joining Johnny and I. We had so much fun putting this card together. If you like what you've seen, please thumbs up and subscribe to this channel. At the end of this, we've got some funny bloopers, so stay tuned for that. And there's some affiliate links below. Cost you nothing, but it helps me. Bye, guys.
And then you can put that as a blooper on the end.
But you have to leave.
Yeah, you don't need cameramans, gosh.
Okay, ready?
No.
Just sit up tall is all because I'm... Okay.
Do that, straight to face.
Okay. Right.
It's ridiculous.
You get the giggles.
Okay.
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
Okay. 2, 1. Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. You're gonna have to quit doing that though, because for real, it's gonna make me laugh. Okay.
Sorry.
3, 2, 1. Hi, this is Joy with Create It With Joy, and this is my son Johnny, and he has helped me. Okay, I'm gonna start over because I interrupted you.
Okay,
hold on.
okay.
Is your mouth dry?
Yeah. Feels like sandpaper.
Okay. Okay, here we go. 2, 1. Hi, this is Joy with Create It With Joy. This is my son Johnny.
Hi.
He helped me make a card, and I was start over.
That's why the bloopers could be longer than the video is.
Okay. 3, 2, 1. Hi, this is Joy with Create It With Joy, and this is my son Johnny.
Hi.
Sorry, I'm so sorry. I'm gonna get it this time.
My teeth are dry.
Hold on, go hit stop because I forgot what this thing is called.
Chibitronics.
All right, we're gonna get it together.
Maybe.
Okay.
It's time's the charm.
Here and we go. 3, 2, 1. Hi, I'm Joy with No.
I think your name is Joy, though.
I know. Okay, hold on.
Okay.
3, 2, 1.
Sorry, I was trying to do it quicker.
Okay. 3, 2, 1. Hi, this is Joy with Create It With Joy.
I was breathing like an idiot when I first started. I'm sorry.
Okay.
You saw me at the end. You started. I was like.
Okay.
Okay.